stop creating chaos. You do not stand for me, and I want you to step down.
The mayor of Dolton, Tiffany Henyard, lashed out at her board of trustees during another tense meeting.
She vetoed the board's decision to require the village to open its financial books.
This is what y'all say about the person. Y'all say he's never at work, he'll do his job. This is what y'all say? So what we doing, guys?
I can say what I want because what I'm saying is
don't touch my son. Don't touch my son.
He know what I'm saying.
He don't have no warrant for his arrest. He don't have no paperwork or nothing.
You ain't no real man.
No.
It's a great day in Dolton. Justice is being served.
In a surprising turn of events, Dolton Chief of Police Louis Lacey has been indicted. This isn't just another scandal. It could be the one that finally brings down Dolton's self-styled super mayor, Tiffany Henyard. So what does this indictment mean for Henyard? Could her empire of corruption be falling apart? And will her top cop be facing years in prison, turn on her to save himself? Let's find out together, shall we? But of course, before we go any further, make sure first that you subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell for more updates and videos like this. Now let's get going.
The acting police chief of Dolton now facing federal charges. A grand jury indicted him on bankruptcy fraud charges today.
So Lightfoot's investigation, at least according to trustees, is back on now.
She did admit to a $2 million budget deficit. However, trustees say it's really millions more.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard last night wasting no time shutting down trustees and critics.
The veto message is related to the secret squirrel means, yes, that the Board of Trustees has.
Federal prosecutors laid out a 9-count indictment against the Dolton official, claiming he devised a scheme to defraud by way of filing for bankruptcy.
Here's the situation. Louis Lacey, Dolton's chief of police and one of Henyard's closest allies, has been hit with charges that could put him away for a long time. Louis Lacey is facing charges related to a money scheme that rocked Dolton. But some people think there's more to this story. The indictment, which has 9 counts, says Lacey lied under oath to hide his assets and income to avoid paying over $40,000 in a lawsuit settlement. He's charged with bankruptcy fraud, making false statements in a bankruptcy case, and perjury, each carrying up to 5 years in prison. Lacey, who is 61 and lives in Madison, recently showed up in court wearing a blue suit. He only spoke briefly to confirm that he understood the charges. Lacey's lawyer, Gal Pazetsky, pleaded not guilty for him, even though Pazetsky argued against it. U.S. Magistrate Judge Beth Chance decided that Lacey must hand over his work gun and 2 other guns from his home. He also had to give up his firearm owner's ID card. However, Judge Chance said she might reconsider these restrictions if Pazetsky can show how they affect Lacey's job with the Dolton Police Department. A status hearing is scheduled for October 1st with U.S. District Judge Thomas Durkin. The charges against Lacey aren't related to his police work, but they add to the federal investigation into alleged corruption by Mayor Henyard.
You know me.
Ma'am, are you refusing to give me your license?
I gave you my driver's license number.
Give me your license.
I'm not going to reach. Give me an officer, another officer come out, reach for it. I'm not going to reach. I got guns on me, and my stuff is in.
Lacey's indictment is just the latest problem for Mayor Henyard, who has already faced several federal subpoenas this year. Lacey's lawyer told the press that the charges are part of a bigger effort to discredit the mayor. Pazetsky highlighted Lacey's long service and strong reputation as a police officer in Dolton. This is a witch hunt, trying to bring down Mr. Lacey to get to the mayor, Pazetsky said, believing Lacey is being targeted to undermine Henyard. The Village of Dolton's trustees recently decided to put Lacey on indefinite administrative leave. However, Pazetsky has challenged this move, saying the trustees don't have the authority to do that and arguing that Lacey should still be paid. They're acting in a way that, in my opinion, isn't legal, Pazetsky said, noting that it's the mayor who signs the paychecks.
I had trouble following it as well, but now Keith Freeman is cooperating, doing what he should have been done in the first place.
Cooperating with trustees.
With the trustees, absolutely, doing his job.
The indictment shows that Lacey has a long history of financial troubles, starting back in the 1980s with several personal bankruptcy filings in Chicago. The latest filings in 2019 and 2020 apparently helped him delay a settlement he had agreed to in 2017 with someone in a state court case. The lawsuit was about a woman whose husband was killed in 2012. The lawsuit claims that Lacey visited the woman multiple times and persuaded her to give him tens of thousands of dollars from her husband's life insurance payout. While Lacey admitted in court papers that he had expressed sympathy and checked on her well-being, he denied taking any money. The lawsuit was eventually settled for $55,000, with Lacey making an initial payment of $112,000. However, the fraud charges say that Lacey filed for bankruptcy twice to avoid paying the remaining $43,000. Court documents show that Lacey didn't fully report his monthly income and hid bank accounts he controlled in his filings and statements under oath. He also allegedly lied about being separated from his wife, claiming she didn't live with him or help with his income and mortgage payments. These lies helped Lacey lower his reported income and dodge creditors, according to the charges. This indictment isn't just a random event. It could be the start of taking down the whole corrupt system Henyard has built. It's a big moment for Dolton, and it feels like justice is finally being served. What makes this even more interesting is that Lacey isn't just a police chief. He's been one of Henyard's most loyal supporters, allegedly doing her dirty work for years. To really grasp the situation, we need to look at how Tiffany Henyard has reportedly turned the Dolton Police Department into her personal enforcers. Under her leadership, the police force is said to have become a group of thugs, doing everything from extorting local businesses to intimidating political rivals and providing private security for Henyard and her allies.
Keith Freeman do not work here, he's fired. So stop playing these silly games, Board of Trustees, and putting people's lives in jeopardy.
Do what you want. But anything after this is insubordination.
Lacey's indictment is a big crack in the corrupt system. If he chooses to cooperate with investigators to avoid a long prison sentence, he could expose a lot about how Henyard has misused the police force. And there's a lot he could spill. Here's where it gets really interesting. With Lacey facing serious charges, he might start talking to save himself. If he does, Henyard could be in big trouble. We've seen this happen before. When people are backed into a corner, they're often ready to share everything to save themselves. Lacey has been in Henyard's inner circle, so he knows all the secrets, figuratively speaking. If he starts talking, Henyard could end up facing criminal charges too. And Lacey wouldn't be the first to flip. There are already rumors that others in Henyard's administration are ready to turn on her as well. In fact, some already have. 6 months ago, Robert Collins, the former police chief of South Suburban Dolton, finally spoke out about the controversial security detail provided to Mayor Tiffany Henyard. Collins explained how the mayor's demands for personal protection made it harder for him to fight crime in the community.
There would be 2 officers or 3 officers, and depending on if there was some type of event, it would be more officers.
In 2023, a Fox 32 investigation revealed that Henyard's security detail wasn't just pulling officers away from patrolling the streets, but it was also costing taxpayers thousands of dollars in overtime. The strain on police resources became a serious problem. Under Collins' leadership, the manpower was stretched so thin that it almost broke. Collins shared that instead of having officers on patrol where they were needed, they were assigned to protect the mayor. Now, living in Florida after being fired by Henyard late last year, Collins expressed his deep frustration. He talked about leading a police department that was already short-staffed and overworked, while still being forced to allocate resources to Henyard's large personal security detail. We desperately needed these officers on the streets fighting crime, Collins said. But instead, they were assigned to chauffeur the mayor around. It's wrong and someone needs to be held accountable. It turns out that Dolton police officers were spending their days driving Henyard around, often to her second taxpayer-funded job as Thornton Township supervisor in South Holland. An open records request showed that these officers were racking up hundreds of hours in overtime, costing taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars. This level of security for a small town with just over 20,000 residents struggling financially raised serious concerns. Dolton often has only a few police officers on duty per shift, and Collins argued that those officers were urgently needed elsewhere. Henyard's security detail was initially justified starting in 2021 after a police-involved shooting in Dolton led to protests and threats against her. Collins agreed that the detail was needed during that tense period, but as the protests died down, the security didn't just continue, it expanded. Collins noticed that it quickly became clear the officers were being used more for personal errands than for real security needs. Collins shared that officers assigned to Henyard were often sent to run errands, pick up, and drop off items, and do other tasks that had little to do with protecting the mayor. The security detail also racked up thousands of dollars in travel expenses as they accompanied Henyard on out-of-town trips. Why would the mayor need a security detail on out-of-town trips? Collins questioned. Who exactly is posing a threat to her at these distant locations? Henyard's security detail made it hard for Collins to tackle crime in Dolton. In February, a gun event on Sibley Boulevard left 4 people injured. a tragedy that Collins thinks could have been less severe with a stronger police presence. Dolton is dealing with serious issues involving gangs, pistols, and substances, according to Collins. Those officers should be on the streets serving the community, not escorting the mayor. When visibility is low, criminals feel emboldened. When Fox 32 tried to ask Mayor Henyard about her use of the police detail, Dolton Village Administrator Keith Freeman stepped in, blocking their camera and stopping her from answering any questions.
We needed those officers to be on the street fighting crime. And instead, we have several officers that are riding around protecting the mayor.
Collins said he faced the same resistance when he tried to bring up the issue with Freeman, who brushed off his concerns. It was made clear to me that these were the orders, and I had to follow them, Collins shared. Last week, Collins filed a civil lawsuit against the village of Dolton for wrongful termination. He claimed that Henyard fired him without cause and without board approval because his wife was friends with some of the mayor's perceived political enemies. Our position is that the termination was illegal, said Richard Blast, Collins' attorney and a specialist in police issues. Blast argued that Collins, a seasoned law enforcement officer, was wrongfully dismissed by Henyard. Chief Collins is a patrolman at heart, and his firing was entirely unjustified.
Well, Mr. Lacey is absolutely not guilty of all 9 counts. I believe he's cooperating. And if you cooperate, you have to admit your guilt first.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard, who calls herself the super mayor and claims to be the most powerful woman on Chicago's South Side, has become a highly controversial figure. The big question is she really using her power for good? Many people, both online and in her own community, are calling her the most corrupt mayor in America. Let's take a closer look at the accusations and controversies fueling these claims. First, let's discuss the corruption allegations. Mayor Henyard is accused of taking away business licenses from people who won't donate to her charity. This so-called pay-to-play scheme has led to claims of kickbacks and bribes, where businesses feel they have to give money to her causes to stay open. Many business owners in Dolton feel like they're being forced to back the mayor's personal agenda. Henyard is also accused of misusing taxpayer money in some flashy ways. One major example is her alleged habit of taking first-class trips on the taxpayer's dime. These expensive trips have caught people's attention, especially in a community where many residents are struggling to get by. But that's not all. It's been reported that Henyard had the city pay for her personal ice skating rink, a luxury most taxpayers wouldn't see as necessary or appropriate. On top of that, she's also been accused of using public funds to promote herself, including putting her face on 22 billboards around the city. This kind of self-promotion paid for by the people she's supposed to serve has only increased frustration among residents. And it doesn't end there. Henyard is reportedly spending tens of thousands of dollars every month on a PR firm to boost her image. With all the controversy surrounding her, it's clear that fixing her image is a big job. Another troubling part of her time in office is her dual role as both the mayor of Dolton and the supervisor of Thornton Township.
Y'all forget I am the leader. They want to hear from the mayor. If y'all ain't learned that yet. The mayor, not the trustees that don't do nothing, that only run their mouth.
Critics say she's double dipping by getting paid from 2 big jobs and using her power to protect her own interests. It's even reported that if she's not reelected as supervisor, the new person would face a 90% pay cut. This move has raised serious ethical concerns and has many people wondering if she's more focused on her own financial security than on serving the community. Henyard's handling of money is another big worry. Reports say she's accumulated a huge amount of credit card debt, which has led people to suspect she might be treating the village's funds like her personal bank account. The lack of transparency about her spending has only made things worse, with residents wanting to know where their tax dollars are going. On top of that, Henyard has made some controversial statements that have further pushed her away from the community. She's been quoted telling residents, "Better have my money," a phrase more commonly associated with loan sharks than public servants. What's even more shocking is her comparison of herself to civil rights icon Martin Luther King Jr. Many people are questioning her judgment and respect for the community she says she's serving. But the most alarming allegations are about her supposed connections to criminal activities. Some claim she acts more like a crime boss than a public official, with rumors that she's even had the cars of her opponents shot up to intimidate them. Whether or not these claims are true, the fact that such stories are spreading shows just how much distrust and fear have taken hold in Dolton. Henyard's approach to personal security has also come under fire. She reportedly travels with a big private security team, all paid for by taxpayers. This kind of security is usually reserved for people facing serious threats, so many are wondering what she's so worried about. Plus, it said she has the local police force on her side, partly because of the huge amounts of overtime she lets her officers rack up, which is also paid for by taxpayers.
Seen police be paid that amount of money under no circumstances.
Get these records for the past 2 years. Now we have some idea, well, we have a big idea.
This supposed misuse of power and resources has only strengthened the belief that Henyard is more focused on protecting her own interests than actually serving the community. With everything happening, it's clear that Henyard is under intense scrutiny. The FBI has been looking into her for a while, and now that acting Dolton Police Chief Lacey is facing federal charges, things are really heating up. Lacey's legal issues could be the tipping point that unravels the entire situation. So why is this such a big deal? It's not just about Lacey's alleged crimes, it's also about what this means for Dolton's leadership. Mayor Henyard, who's already under federal investigation, is facing serious corruption and mismanagement claims that could really shake up the village. Recently, former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, hired by Dolton trustees as a special investigator, released a startling report showing the village's finances have taken a nosedive since Henyard took office in 2021. The report revealed that Dolton's general fund dropped from a balance of $5.61 million in April 2022 to a deficit of $3.65 million by May 2024. That's nearly a $9 million swing in just 2 years. Lightfoot's report didn't just point out the overall financial decline, it also highlighted specific cases of alleged misuse of taxpayer dollars. For example, village credit cards were used for extravagant purchases, including a staggering $33,500 spent on Amazon in just one day, along with other big transactions on the same day. Another notable expense was nearly $7,700 spent on Wayfair. These transactions, among others, raise serious questions about where taxpayer money is going and how it's being spent.
This is what they told me to tell y'all, right here. Every single resident.
Village trustee Kiana Belcher voiced the community's frustration and sense of betrayal, calling the situation a slap in the face to Dolton residents. Lightfoot's report also uncovered that over $6 million in checks had been approved but never sent to vendors, leaving the village's financial obligations in chaos. Trustee Tammy Brown didn't hold back, suggesting that if the community doesn't recognize the corruption now, nothing will change. She pushed for a complete overhaul by February 2025, signaling a strong call for major changes in leadership. But the financial mismanagement doesn't end there. The report also found some shocking payroll issues in the Dolton Police Department. 2 officers got so much overtime pay that it exceeded their annual salaries. For example, one officer earned nearly $5,000 in overtime on top of their $87,200 salary.
And Deputy Chief Lacey, who was fired this week, also made a killing in overtime. Check out how much he was paid in overtime since 2022. Last fiscal year, the village paid him $96,000 in addition to his salary.
Since Henyard became Dolton's first female mayor, her time in office has been full of controversy. She also serves as Thornton Township supervisor, and her image is prominently displayed outside the village hall, which seems out of place given the mounting allegations against her. Henyard is now facing accusations of corruption and political retaliation. Critics, including trustees, business owners, and even Illinois Attorney General's office, claim she's using village funds as her personal piggy bank, all while Dolton's debts and unpaid bills keep piling up.
Lightfoot in her investigation also uncovered spending that just doesn't add up when it comes to municipal spending. The report shows there's $40,000 unaccounted for spent on Amazon purchases in a single day.
For what? That's ridiculous. What did they get from Amazon for $40,000?
I've actually been watching it saying, when is the tsunami going to actually hit us and knock the community off its feet? That's what I just think.
Trustee Jason House specifically criticized Henyard for taking lavish trips with village staff, which has contributed to the multi-million-dollar deficit. The frustration among Dolton's residents is clear. They packed a recent meeting angry and demanding answers. Business owners like Lawrence Gardner have also felt the negative effects of Henyard's leadership. Adding to the growing pressure, Henyard's charity, Tiffany Henyard Cares, is now under scrutiny. The Illinois Attorney General's office recently issued a cease and desist order, accusing the charity of not reporting how it spends its funds or who benefits from them. This latest issue only adds to the mounting questions about Henyard's leadership. Despite these allegations, Henyard and her spokesperson deny any wrongdoing. They claim they haven't heard about any investigations or received any subpoenas. Henyard has accused her colleagues of spreading false claims and filing costly lawsuits at taxpayers' expense, calling the ongoing investigations just a political circus. However, it looks like Henyard has gone missing since the indictment of her top cop. She hasn't responded to requests for comment and wasn't at Dolton Village Hall. Her office hasn't replied to repeated requests for an interview. Village employees said Henyard wasn't in the office and didn't mention when she would return. What's next for Tiffany Henyard? The stakes are really high. If Lacey decides to cooperate, Henyard could face charges for corruption and misusing her position. There's also a chance that more people from her administration might come forward to testify against her. Her entire career is on the line. She's been playing a risky game for years, and it seems like her house of cards is finally falling apart. But what happens next? Will Lacey's indictment be the turning point that finally takes Henyard down, or will she find a way to escape this time like she has done before? As this story unfolds, it's clear that Tiffany Henyard is in deeper trouble than ever. With her top cop possibly ready to turn on her, she's running out of options. The next few weeks could decide her fate and the future of Dolton's leadership. That's all for today. We hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more videos like this.